Okay, let's do a couple problems to recap what we've done. So we want to find the derivative of these four different functions. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. What I notice is that you have two different things being added together. So I know that I have to take the derivative of both of them. Now, something that will be really helpful is to write them in power form. So I know that this in power form will be 3x to the 1/2 power. And then this will be plus x to the negative 4. Okay, so I can go ahead and rewrite the radicals as with a fractional exponent, and I can write the fraction by bringing it up and making it negative. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and use the power rule. So the power rule says that I had to move the 1/2 over and subtract it from 1. Okay, same thing with this thing. Okay, so now I'm calculating my derivative, f prime of x. Okay, so this is going to be bringing the 1/2 over. I'm going to have the 3 that was there, the 1/2, x to the 1/2 minus 1 is going to give me negative 1/2. Okay, plus, now the negative 4 is going to come over. Okay, I'm going to have x and then negative 4 minus 1. That's going to give me negative 5. Okay, so that's what I have so far. Now let's fix the negatives. Okay, so we still have f prime. F prime is equal to, this is just going to give me 3/2. This negative means that I'm going to bring it to the bottom. Okay, x to the 1/2, and that's how it's going to make it positive. A positive and negative is going to give me a negative 4. And then I have a minus 5, so I'm going to bring it to the bottom also, and I'm going to have x to the 5th power. Okay, now if I want to rewrite this a little bit more, I can have 3/2 to the square root of x minus 4 over x to the 5th power. And that is my answer. That is a derivative of my first one. Okay? All right. Now my second one. Same thing. Let me just go ahead and rewrite it in terms of power. So let me put this one in a different color. So let's use this color. So first, I can rewrite this as 1 over x squared divided by 3. Okay, so x to the 2/3. And this one, well, I don't really need to rewrite anything because this one's okay. Now let me bring this a little bit up. So x to the minus 2/3 minus 1/3 x to the power of 3. Okay, now I'm ready to take the derivative of this function. So f prime is going to be equal to, I'm going to bring this to the front and then subtract it from 1. So I'm going to have negative 2/3, because I brought that to the front, x. Okay, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take minus 2/3 and I'm going to subtract it to 1. And what I'm going to get is I'm going to get minus 5 over 3. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing, power rule here. So the 3 is going to come to the front. I'm going to have minus 1/3. Then this 3 that I just brought to the front, x, I'm going to subtract it from 1, and this is going to give me a square. So now the 3's are going to go away. Okay, so what I'm going to have is minus 2/3. Okay, I'm going to bring this to the bottom, x to the 5/3. Okay, minus x squared. Okay, so you can leave it as is, or you can go ahead and reduce it if you want to the third root of, so you can rewrite this part as the third root of x to the 5th. And if you know a little bit about radicals, you know that you can take out 3, a pair of 3. So this will be kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can take out 1 triplet. That will give me 1 set, and I'm just left with 2 x's in the front. So you can rewrite it as this if you want it, or you can just leave it like that. Okay, now my next one. Okay, my next one, I'll put it in this color. Okay, now what I see is that I have 2 different terms being multiplied together. So this tells me that I'm going to use the product rule. Okay, and if you remember what the product rule was the derivative of the first, or the first times the derivative of the second. Okay, whoops. There's a derivative of the second. Plus, now the second's going to stay the same, and I'm going to take the derivative of the first. Okay, so that's the product rule. Okay, so the first term is going to be my square root of x. So nothing happens to my square root of x. Okay, oops, that's a wrong color. Okay, so I'm going to have the square root of x. I'm just going to leave it like that. Then I'm going to take the derivative of the second. Okay, so the derivative of this part, I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to put a little apostrophe there. Then plus the second I'm going to leave by itself. And then I'm going to take the derivative of the first, which is going to be the square root. Okay, I'm going to have the square root of x. Then I'm going to take the derivative of that. All of this is going to be f prime. Okay, so this is going to be equal to square root of x. The derivative of this, well, I'm going to bring the 4 to the front. That's going to give me 12x cubed. This one, the derivative of this, I'm going to bring the 1 to the front. That's going to give me minus 4, x to the 0 power, which is just a 1. And then plus 1, the derivative of 1 is just 0. So this is going to be 0. Plus, now this is going to stay by itself. And now I'm going to take the derivative of square root of x. Now, if you remember, this is just x to the 1/2. Okay, move this to the front. I'm going to have 1/2 x to the negative 1/2. Okay, so let me fix this a little bit. So this is going to be square root of x, 12x cubed minus 4, plus 3x to the 4th, minus 4x plus 1, times 1 over 2 square root of x, because this negative is going to bring it to the bottom, and I know that to the 1/2 power is just a square root, and this is going to be my derivative. Okay, just to play it safe, let's just leave it as is. That way we don't have to mess up anything else. Okay, and I would prefer if you leave it at this form instead of distributing it and making it really complicated. Okay, now for my last one, I wanted to do this problem with a different letter so that you can see that the derivatives are still the same, okay? And I used it with different notation, d over dr. So that means I'm just taking the derivative of each of them. So this is going to be d over dr of my first term, 1 over r squared, minus d over dr, 7r 3 to the half. Okay, 3/2. So now what I want to do, this just tells me take the derivative of that thing. So let me write it in terms of power form. So d over dr, this is going to be r to the negative 2, minus d over dr. This one's going to be the same. So 7r to the 3/2. Okay. So this one, power rule, I'm going to bring it to the front. Negative 2r and minus 1 is going to be minus 3. Okay. Then minus... the 7 stays the same. I'm going to bring this to the front, so that's going to give me 3/2, and then r, and then I'm going to take 3/2, and I'm going to subtract it to 1. Okay, and what I'm going to get is I'm going to get 1/2. So I'm going to subtract this by 1. Okay, so now what I'm going to get, I'm going to have minus 2 all over r to the 3rd power, because the negative just brings it to the bottom. This is going to give me 21/2, and then r to the 1/2 is just going to be square root of r. Okay, and this is my final answer. Okay, so hopefully this helped a little bit to understand a little more about derivatives. But that's just basically what I want you to work with. Notice that the hardest part isn't really taking the derivative. It's more dealing with the fractions and knowing what the rational exponents mean. Okay, so hopefully this helps.